So I want to talk a little bit about dating and the concept of online dating. And I know that you're probably asking, well, what does dating have to do with therapy and this, that, and the other? Well, I work with a lot of single people. I work with people who have recently gone through a breakup and are trying to figure out how to go back into the dating world. I work with couples, and the foundation of every relationship is how you started out and how you started dating. So it all circles back to dating. And now today, a lot of dating is done online. It's done through apps. It's done through algorithms and websites and all this fancy stuff. So I think it's important to kind of set the stage up a little bit if you're thinking about diving into the dating world and kind of what you need for yourself to set yourself up for success, as well as kind of maintaining your own self-care throughout the process. So little tidbits that I think would be helpful for anyone who's interested in online dating and getting themselves back out there. So the first thing before you start anything else is to figure out what kind of relationship you're looking to get into. Whether you've just gotten out of an old relationship and you're looking to kind of just test the waters, something casual, nothing too serious, or maybe playing the field, or if you're looking for a committed relationship with just one person, monogamy and all that stuff. It's important to kind of figure out what relationship you're looking for, because that's going to kind of help set up the foundation for everything else. And the next step would be to find the app that matches that. So if you're looking for something casual and something fun, nothing too serious, I would probably not go on Match.com or eHarmony, where those are more tailored towards more meaningful relationships. So do your research. There's like 10 million different apps and websites: Match.com, eHarmony, Tinder, Bumble, Coffee Meets Bagel, all these other fancy apps out there. So knowing what you're looking for is going to help guide you in the right direction in terms of what app is going to work best for you, which then brings up kind of the more meatier subject of this whole video is your profile, and really what to put on there, what not to put on there. I'm not really going to go into the logistics of whether or not you should, write your hobbies. I mean, it's good to put them in, but it's more so really kind of preparing you for the realities of dating, because it is harsh. It's not, something fun. I mean, it could be fun, but for most people it's not. So when you're writing your profile, you want to have a balance of, not too much information and not too little information. I'm going to tell you the reason why. So you don't want to provide too much information, because some information is privileged. It's something that people earn over time. It's something that, you build with, the connection that you build with another person. So you don't want to put too much information on your website, because you want there to be some sort of give and take as you text back and forth with someone or actually meet someone in person. So some information is privileged, and that's something to help safeguard you, into, divulging too much. But then you don't also want to put too little, because then that can come off a little shady. People want to get to know you at first glance, which is hard when you're online dating. You're just kind of putting yourself out there. So you don't want to leave out too much. You want to have a nice balance between, who you are and everything else. So, figure out what's a comfortable level of information for you. What are things that you want to share with someone else who may never match with you? You want to make sure that you're comfortable with the information that you're putting out there. So that's first and foremost. And so when you balance between putting who you are, you also want to kind of put out there what is it that you're looking for, the type of person that you're looking for, the type of relationship that you're looking for, and being very honest about your expectations and realistic about your expectations. Because, if you're looking for someone who exercises 7 times a day, drinks protein shakes, and is like super buff, and you're eating Cheetos for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's not going to be the right fit. You want to have realistic expectations of someone who's going to be, simpatico with you, someone who's going to have somewhat of the same ideals and lifestyle as you. They don't have to be exactly the same. They don't have to be exactly opposite, but they have to be enough that they're going to mesh well. There might be some differences, some similarities, but you want to have expectations of a partner that's going to be somewhat in line of who you are. Because when you have I know they say opposites attract. A little bit of that is BS, right? Because, not all opposites are going to attract, that's just not the way the world works. Most people want to find someone very similar to them. There might be some opposites that, cause that nice sort of friction in a relationship and spiciness, but for the most part, we want people that are somewhat similar to us. So when you write about the partner that you're looking for, have honest expectations of what that means, and don't set yourself up to be either let down or let the other person down. Which brings me nicely into the photo. Okay. I'm not a master of lighting. This lighting is what it is. I just sit by a window. So I'm not I don't know anything about that. I'm not about the gram. I'm not about any of that. So I'm not going to tell you the poses to do or anything like that. What I am going to tell you is to choose a photo that is what you look like. It's not to be vain. It's not to be shallow. It's really about the foundation of the relationship being built on honesty and trust. That's kind of where it's at. That's the therapist in me. You want to have a photo that is you, because, that's what we're all vain a little bit. We're all shallow a little bit. People are going to try to find that physical connection, physical attraction through a photo, which is hard in itself. But if you're choosing a photo that is 15 years ago and you're, 50 pounds lighter, when you show up finally for a date, because that's going to happen hopefully eventually, the person's going to be let down and they're going to be hurt because, you weren't honest. So you want to build a relationship, even if it's casual, on honesty and trust. So that is the reason why having a realistic photo of you is important. Reel in your friends, reel in your resources, have them review your profile and look at your picture, have them tell you, if it's really who you are, really not. You don't have to do it by yourself. So don't feel like you're left. Have people look at it. Give them your honest opinion. So that's briefly about profile. So let's go into the next section, kind of like the texting part of it. So first and foremost, you kind of want to create some sort of guideline for yourself about how often you want to text a person. For me personally, I wouldn't put all my eggs into one basket unless that basket, is filled with nice goody juiceness. But you probably won't find that out for a little bit. The luxury of online dating, which is both a luxury and like a disadvantage, is that there's a wealth of people out there. But you don't want to devote everything into one person too quickly, because that builds up expectations and you don't want that to happen, especially if there's not an equal give and take. So if you find yourself being always the one to initiate conversation, always the one pulling and pulling and pulling, that says something that you should kind of keep an eye out for. So, try to have a nice kind of set of guidelines of how many people you want to be talking with. Obviously, don't do too many and don't do too little. Kind of the theme of this is all about balance. So have a nice set of, how many people you want to be talking to and how much time you want to devote to that person. And just make sure that, don't leave it up to like texting for 5 weeks and you still haven't seen each other. I listened to a podcast. I think it's awesome, by Nicole Byer. So it's not the next phrase is not mine. I'm giving full credit to her. And she talks a lot about online dating because she does apps and things like that. And she talks about how the process of messaging people for a long time builds a lot of emotional intimacy up front. And it's 100% true. Conversation in itself is building up of emotional intimacy. So if you're only doing that with someone for an extended period of time, you're building up so much emotional intimacy with kind of little to no reward. So at a certain point, You have to establish a time where it's either, what's the word, like either shit on the pot or get off. I don't know what the phrase is, but something like that. Like do it or don't. You know what I mean? So either schedule a date or what are we doing at this point? So, you know, what's the worst that can happen? You know, you go on a date and what, you continue the conversation in person? Like, come on. Also, the important things is if you're talking so much through text, you're not going to have a lot to talk about in person. So have a good amount of, you know, texting, but not it be too much. And at a certain point, establish when you want to have that in-person date. I usually say, like, if a person's texting you consistently for about like a week and a half, 2 weeks, like, why not schedule a date? To kind of just see how things are in person. So it leads me into kind of the next thing. If you're gelling with someone and things are going well, leave the information that they give up to you, you know, for them to divulge. With today's day and age, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, people are easily like searchable, like on Google. But that's also kind of creepy. So, you know, if you're connecting with someone, unless they offer up information, don't go looking for it. And I know people are going to say, well, what if I find out that they're a creep or this, that, or the other, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. Valid point. But at the same time, you know, you have to leave some mystery into it. You have to, again, some information is privileged and maybe they didn't think you were at that level to get that information. You want to respect their boundaries. And how would you feel if, I don't know, you went on a date and someone brought up a Instagram picture from 5 years ago that you never shared? You know, it's weird. So leave some things up for mystery, allow them to divulge information to you. You know, don't go digging and searching, because at the end of the day, that's kind of a little hurtful, you know? So when you're ready to establish a date, I always go for casual. I like casual. I think it's fun. And what I mean by casual is either like a coffee or drink date, because those are easy outs in terms of dating. They have no set end time. They're pretty flexible. And, you know, you can establish at what point to, you know, get out. If you do like a dinner or a movie thing, those have set times that you kind of have to sit through. And if things aren't working out, you don't want to have to sit through all of them. So coffee and drinks are pretty simple. Like I said, they have a set end time, or not a set end time. You could set it yourself at the time. So that it's a little bit more casual, a little bit more fun. And then always just kind of give a person, I would say, like at least 2 to 3 dates to really determine whether or not sparks are good or not. I think we kind of romanticize this idea that, you know, we see a person and love at first sight, fireworks everywhere, sparks everywhere. It happens and it doesn't. It's the truth of reality. You know, I can be honest. I've been married since 2011. I know it's been a long time. My husband and I didn't have sparks at the first time, but look at us, going strong. So there's proof in the pudding that you don't necessarily always have to have sparks in the beginning. They can build over time as you know, let go of some of that privileged information, build more emotional intimacy in person, build more connection. The sparks can build up. So don't just let the first date kind of be the determining factor as to whether or not this person is it for you. Give it 2 or 3 dates. Give them at least, give him or her or they that kind of luxury of time, you know? So 2 or 3 dates, see how it goes. And, you know, don't ghost them. I think we're all adults. We're all looking for mature, honest relationships. And that means even relationships that don't work out. So don't ghost a person. You know, let them know that it, you know, it wasn't working out. Out of courtesy, only because, you know, it hurts people's feelings to be rejected, and to be rejected and not even know you being rejected is even harder. So don't ghost people. Not nice. So secondly, in terms of, you know, dating and things like that, establish kind of like, if you're ready for that in-person date, ask. Don't wait for that person to ask for it. Be upfront and say, you know, let's meet in person. Let's get off the pot and let's get it moving. You know, and do that. If someone asks you for a date and you don't feel comfortable, or if they're sending you messages that are inappropriate, that, you know, are not messages that you want, because it happens, you know, you don't feel obligated to have to engage. Okay. You know, we have our own boundaries. We have our personal space. Oftentimes people don't, be realistic, people don't know how to date, and they're inappropriate and it's not fun. And that goes for men and women. I'm not putting any gender stereotypes out there, because it happens on both ends of the spectrum. So if you're not comfortable and you don't really want to have a date with someone, that's okay. It's fine. You don't have to be obligated to go out with anyone if you're not comfortable with it. One of the bigger things about dating, whether it's online or you're meeting this person at a party, whatever the case may be, is to, you know, still treat yourself. You know, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're having your own individual time. You're doing self-care. I tell this to everyone, whether they're dating, married, single, what have you. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You are your priority. Make sure that you're not fully divulging everything into dating and neglecting yourself. You want to have something for yourself. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. That brings in good energy. That brings in kind of a sense of, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a priority, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not selfish. I, again, recommend it to everyone. Make sure that you're a priority. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And in that kind of same line, you know, if things are becoming overwhelming for you, know when to take a break. Okay? Because again, dating can be fun, but it can be the worst thing in life. So if it's getting to that point, it might be time to take a break. So, you know, get off the apps for a little bit, whether it be 2 weeks, a week. Give yourself time to breathe, you know, and get back to you for a little bit before you go back into it. And you never know, maybe it's not the right app for you. So taking a break might be able to give you a sense of, maybe let me just switch over to a different app, see what's on there, which is always a good bet. Lastly, I'd have to check my notes, but lastly is, you know, dating's hard. It could feel like, you know, you're applying for 10 million jobs and you're never sure if you're gonna get an interview, and if you get an interview, you're never sure if you're gonna get a second interview or even get the job. It's hard. It's a struggle. And I know what I'm gonna say is going to be met with a lot of like, I don't know, walls. But don't take it personal, you know, and it's hard not to, because you feel like a person is rejecting you, like you're not good enough to be in a relationship, and, you know, something's wrong with you, or, you know, you don't look good enough, or your profile's not that great enough. And it can be very like gut-wrenching to either not get matched, or people ghost you, or whatever the case may be. But it's not about you. And I mean that in the most like flattering way. I don't mean to sound rude, but it's not you. Okay, it's just not the right fit. And if anything, that is good. You know, that you're not putting yourself out there, matching with someone, investing in something, and not going anywhere. So if it's not connecting, if it's not gelling, if you're not getting matches, that's actually a good sign. You're weeding out the potential BS of it all, and you're, you know, putting your energy where it needs to be. So I know that that's hard to say, coming from me, or coming from anyone, to not take it personally. And I know that it hurts, and I know that rejection sucks, and I get it. I feel you. But I don't want this to ruin your self-confidence. You are an amazing person. There is a person out there for you that's going to see how amazing you are. You know, you just have to kiss a few frogs before you get your prince or your queen, or whatever title you want to give that, before you really kind of match and connect with someone. So I hope this video was helpful. I feel like I missed stuff, which I always do. So You can always check on my website. If I missed anything, I'll make sure to kind of write it in, because, like I said, it happens. So again, I hope this was helpful, and